Hi, I'm Heinbach. Good to have you back. I was a bit sad when I heard that Moog discontinued their Moogerfooger line. I was a fan of these effects ever since I started making music, even though, because they were so pricey, I could only afford them second-hand. But I thought this would be a good time to show you one of my favorite techniques that I love to employ with the Moogerfooger MF 103 phaser. And it's called phaser drums. Now this technique will not only work with this phaser, even though it sounds brilliant on the Moogerfooger. It will work with other phasers too, such as the one that comes with Ableton Live. Now let me show you how to set this up. I've set all the signals to the lowest possible settings except for the output on the phaser, and I'm taking a gate signal from the first row of the Korg SQ1 and I'm putting it into the audio in of the phaser. I'm hitting play, and this is how that sounds. Not very exciting yet, even when I sweep the phaser, which will move the position of the all-pass filters that drive the phaser. Not much to hear yet, but once I up the resonance, the sound gets more body. Sounds almost like a tom. Now I can sweep through the frequencies. And if I add a little bit of modulation, it will move through the pitches. Which sounds like a nice percussion instrument. Now I'm taking a second signal, a CV signal from the first row, and I'm plugging that into the resonance control. This will unlock further resonance that would be possible with just turning the knob. So now all these dials are down low, and here I'm on the highest setting. Turning this down again. Careful with that. This is already a nice way to create variation into the rhythm. Now I'm taking a third signal, the CV from the lower row of the Korg. And I'm using that to control the sweep. So what I did by hand before, I'm going to program now. So you can dial in melodic sequences now. And then of course you can program rhythms. Maybe a bit faster. Bit of slow modulation. And now really fast modulation. and the phaser becomes a full-fledged synthesizer. Now, how does this work? What I'm doing here is called pinging. Like a glass, many filters have resonances that you can excite by sending a short impulse into them, making them ring or even oscillate. And a phaser is nothing but a bank of filters called all-pass filters. Compared to the more standard high and low-pass filters you're used to from synthesizers, all-pass does not change the amplitude of a signal's frequency, it changes the phase. When you mix that out-of-phase signal back again with the original signals, you get that phasing effect. But like its mono colleagues, the all-pass filter also has a resonance frequency. This you can excite and make ring on its own. Because we are dealing with a bank of filters, 2 to 4 to 8 is pretty usual in the phaser world, 12 as on the Moogerfooger is outstanding, you get very complex and beautiful timbres of sounds. Let's hear some more examples. What I personally like about these sounds is that they don't sound like typical oscillators. They have a very liquid quality to them. On lower resonance settings, they remind me of tribal gathering drums. And on higher resonance settings, they have the feel or the texture of the future or the future past to me. There are two things that are very special with the Moogerfooger MF103 when used in this way. First, the 12 poles allow very complex sound design. Second, the modulation possibilities that you get. You can modulate the resonance, as I've shown you, and the sweep, but you can also modulate the rate of the internal LFO and the amount of the internal LFO. Once you add in a modular synthesizer with all its CV outs, you can create some very complex rhythms and sounds. If you're interested in these sounds, I've compiled a sample pack that is available on my Patreon. As I mentioned before, this technique does not only work with the Moogerfooger, but also with other phasers. Here we have Ableton Live. I've set up the sampler that came with it and put a sample in there, but I'm only using the very first part, the attack portion, to excite the phaser. This is how that sounds on its own. Not very exciting, so let's switch on the phaser. You can see the pole here. Now let's up the feedback. Now we get a very short ring there. Let's use more poles. And now let's switch the frequency around. This phaser has two settings: space, which we heard now, which is very glassy and futuristic, and this is the earth setting, which is a bit more drummy. So this does sound nice, if not as thick and colorful as the Moogerfooger. But if you set up the modulation options to the right correctly, I bet you can have a lot of fun with this. That's it for this video. If you have any more questions, leave them in the comments below. You can catch me live in these places. I'm adding more as they come up. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next one, or maybe one of these cities. Bye.